to air traffic control. The opposition says there are serious questions about the reliability and security of Gibraltar's electricity infrastructure. The principal auditor believes his office should have oversight of the accounts of government-owned companies. The defence closes its case in the Clayton Bustos sexual abuse trial. And the Health Authority appeals for more people to donate blood. Good evening. Passengers booked on last night's cancelled EasyJet flight to Gatwick will not receive compensation after the airline said the disruption was caused by circumstances outside its control. The flight was grounded following yesterday's widespread power outage, which forced the closure of the airport's runway and control tower. In answer to GBC questions, the government said the airport terminal remained fully operational and any questions regarding ATC systems should be directed to the MOD.
While compensation can't make up for a missed family wedding or other important commitments, it can certainly help ease the disappointment and assist passengers with alternative travel arrangements. But in response to GBC questions, EasyJet said compensation is not payable in line with its regulations. It said, due to the temporary closure of Gibraltar Airport's runway on Thursday evening, flight EZY-8793 from Gatwick to Gibraltar diverted to Malaga, and the return flight EZY-8794 from Gibraltar to London Gatwick was unable to operate. A major power outage had affected much of Gibraltar, and, although the MOD has yet to officially confirm this in response to GBC questions, the airport runway remained closed for the rest of the evening. Passengers had been expecting to be transported to Malaga after receiving a message from the airline saying it hoped to get them on board as soon as possible. However, EasyJet told GBC that coach availability there was limited. In an official statement, it said, "We did all we could to minimize the impact of the closure for our customers, providing options to rebook or a refund, as well as hotel accommodation and meals for those who require them, and any reasonable expenses, including alternative transport from Malaga, will be reimbursed." It adds the safety and well-being of our customers and crew is our highest priority, and while this was outside of our control, we are sorry for the inconvenience caused. The government told GBC we can clarify that the air terminal building itself, which falls under the remit of His Majesty's government, remained fully operational throughout. The terminal's backup generator infrastructure deployed immediately, ensuring continuous power to the facility. The suspension of flights was entirely due to an issue affecting air traffic control. Any questions regarding ATC systems or their technical recovery timelines should be directed to the MOD. It adds, while the government deeply regrets the frustration and inconvenience experienced by passengers whose travel plans were disrupted, decisions regarding flight cancellations, diversions, and the arrangement of ground transport, such as coaches from Malaga, are strictly commercial decisions for the airlines concerned and have nothing to do with government. Meanwhile, elsewhere, organisers of the KPMG E-Summit at the Spitfire Hall in the World War II tunnels arranged for all the fresh food prepared for the event to be donated to a local soup kitchen. Posting on the tunnel's Facebook page, Director of Wright Tech Limited, William Wright, said the thought of the food going to waste was incredibly disappointing. The Minister for Justice, Trade and Industry, Nigel Feetham, thanked those involved and said he looked forward to returning to the venue for next year's conference.
The GST says the latest power cut raises serious questions about the government's assurances on the resilience, reliability and security of Gibraltar's electricity infrastructure. It says the public deserves a full explanation of what happened, what safeguards failed and what steps will now be taken to prevent this happening again. Shadow Minister for Public Utilities Craig Sagarello said people deserve answers, accountability and the confidence that lessons will finally be learned. Cristina Cortez spoke to him.
The government promised us resilience Gibraltar got a blackout. This is one of a series of blackouts that's been happening. I lose count. I think it's 10 already this year. So we see a catalogue of errors and failures that the government is unable to deliver secure and consistent supply of power, which is something they promised that the new power station would eradicate, and the additional cost and expense, the introduction of the best batteries. And they are failing not only to deliver, but to shoulder this responsibility for the blame. And that, I think, was something shocking from the interview yesterday, the complete absence of any humility, of any apology, of any empathy for people stuck in lifts, for businesses unable to conduct their business, losing business to restaurants in Spain as people went over to watch the World Cup over there, where it was safe to know that they would be able to get the television match, the match streamed on television. You know, there was also a large conference going on, a big summit, the KPMG on the Sunbourne, where we were showcasing Gibraltar's talents in the gaming sector. I mean, what type of example does this set? It's a shocking catalogue of failures.
Now, the Minister said that the battery energy system worked as designed but was unable to cope with the demand placed after 2 engines failed. Could yesterday just have been a particularly unfortunate one-off?
Well, if it's happened once, it can happen again. So clearly something has to be done, lessons need to be learned. But the worrying thing is that this wasn't anticipated. You know, without getting too technical, the best battery backup has a potential to provide 14 megawatts of power. At peak, we consume in Gibraltar around 43 megawatts of power. And so the setup has to be such in the power station and the transition to the backup and alternative generators that prevents this from happening, even if the configuration was as it was last night. And that actually is a line of question worth following, which we will be following up in Parliament.
And what would the GSD like to see done?
We'd like to see the lights stay on, please. We'd like to see business be able to flourish. You know, people not stuck in lifts. There needs to be long-term, finite fixes. You know, they need to be definitive. We cannot allow room for errors and what-ifs and we didn't anticipate. Those are excuses that must be something of the past, and we need to come up with solutions that a community can rely on.
The principal auditor believes his office should have oversight of the accounts of government-owned companies, even if they're independently audited. Speaking on last night's Viewpoint, Phil Sharman also said he agrees with the UK best practice guidance that there should be a public accounts committee, although he stressed that this would be a matter for Parliament.
Now, where a PAC is not mandated by the Constitution, obviously it's a matter for Parliament as to whether there is a PAC or not. So we've reached a point in Gibraltar where that debate is held in Parliament rather than in a select committee. Look, it's an alternative model. And I think one of the arguments was that there was insufficient parliamentary time to have a full debate. And as we saw over the summer, the Chief Minister did make parliamentary time available for significant analysis of the auditor's report. So look, there is an alternative way of doing things. If you asked me what would be my view, I would say that the good practice guidance published by the UK territories universally says that a PAC is a good thing. And so professionally, I would say that that is where I would be as well. But that is an opinion of me as a professional. Whether Parliament chooses to have a PAC or not is entirely a prerogative of Parliament.
Should the principal auditor edit government-owned companies?
I think because it is public money here, the companies are public companies. They are controlled by government. From that point of view, I think it's absolutely right that the auditor have some ability to report to Parliament. Now, I'm not saying we do the audit, but there's some oversight and reporting upon them.
If you don't actually do the audit, what sort of oversight would you do?
The way that would work in practice is that the firm would complete their audit. I mean, these are companies, so they report in accordance with the Companies Act, of course. But then the auditor would say that I have reviewed the accounts of those companies, I have had sight of the audit report, and I can confirm an audit has been completed. And having performed that review, I can make this, that, or the other comment.
And Phil Sharman says there's currently no legislative provision for value for money audits, although he wants them included in future reforms. The plans, which would require government support and approval, aims to increase the GAO's independence, restore timely financial accountability, and modernise Gibraltar's audit framework in line with international standards. The proposal also includes establishing a government internal audit function.
Would you be looking to push towards legislative reform to include a value for money audit?
Absolutely, yes. So within the strategy, we're proposing some legislative change. Clearly, legislation is a matter for Parliament. So whilst I can propose these things, ultimately it's a matter for Parliament to decide whether the auditor should have those powers. But yes, I would certainly be proposing that the auditor has a statutory mandate to do value for money work. In the short run, we will need to reprioritise what we do. And the reason for that, Ros, is we do have significant arrears in the reporting of the public accounts. And given that Tony's report covered the periods on value for money and other matters, right up till April 25, which was the end of his term of office, then from my point of view, I believe there's been pretty good coverage, and therefore I can focus our efforts in the short run on catching up the arrears of the financial accounts. And therefore, unless there's something which arises that really requires me to look at it in some detail, go easy on value for money and departmental spending at this moment. It's all about prioritisation of resources. So currently there is no internal audit function within government. There is the beginnings of an internal audit function within the Gibraltar Health Authority, and I think that needs to change. It needs to be, in my view, a government-wide professional internal audit function. The internal auditor will ensure that there is compliance with policies and procedures. And if that's not the case, we'll report it internally so it can be fixed. So the Chief Secretary, the Financial Secretary, will have the opportunity to remedy that. If that is still not remedied, if that is still not the case, by the time I come along, it will then be in the public domain, absolutely, but at least government will have had a chance to fix it first.
Well, Phil Sharman confirmed his priority is to clear the backlog from 2019, with the first set of accounts expected to be delivered to Parliament in September. Well, Gibraltar will renew its call to be removed from the United Nations list of non-self-governing territories when the Chief Minister addresses the UN Committee of 24 in New York on Monday. Accompanied by the Deputy Chief Minister, Fabian Picardo will also reaffirm the right of the people of Gibraltar to determine their own future. The government says the visit forms part of its long-standing policy of presenting Gibraltar's position to the United Nations. You can watch the address live on GBC at 4 p.m. or follow the session on Radio Gibraltar Plus AM. The Chief Minister is expected to return on Tuesday, while Joseph Garcia remains in New York on government business until Wednesday. During their absence, John Cortes will act as Chief Minister. The defence has closed its case in the Clayton Bustos sexual abuse trial, with the former teacher denying he was a sexual predator and insisting any sexual contact or messages happened when the complainants were of consenting age. Mr. Bustos faces 19 counts of sexual offences against children, and he denies all charges. Under cross-examination by Christian Roca, Clayton Bustos was asked directly about allegations involving former pupils. The Crown put it to him that he had befriended vulnerable boys, presented himself as the cool teacher, used banter to normalize sexual conversations, and asked them to delete messages. Mr. Busto denied grooming them. He accepted some sexual conversations and exchanges of images had taken place, but maintained this was reciprocal and happened when they were adults. Asked about one complainant, Mr. Busto admitted performing a sexual act in front of him, but said Mr. X was over 18 and no longer at school. The defendant also denied allegations involving Mr. Y, who told the jury he was 15 when sexual touching took place at Mr. Busto's house. The defendant said that was not true, although he accepted he later apologized to him. Mr. Roca put it to Mr. Busto that he was a sexual predator of young boys, who had influence and control over them. Mr. Busto denied this. Defense lawyer Chris Finch asked Mr. Busto whether, as a teacher, it was inappropriate to have sexual relationships with a student. He said yes, accepting it was wrong, but maintained they were adults. The jury also heard from a defense witness who said he had known Mr. Busto for around 20 years and had never seen him behave sexually or inappropriately with Mr. A, who was also a friend of his at the time. The trial will resume next week, with the jury expected to return on Wednesday for closing speeches and the judges summing up. And a local man has been sentenced to time served after being found guilty of possession of a firearm following a Supreme Court trial. Laguna State resident Mark Macias was convicted of possessing a BB airgun. He was cleared of 2 counts of common assault, as well as charges of strangulation, destroying or damaging property, and threats to kill. During the week-long trial, the jury heard evidence from witnesses, complainants, a medical professional, a police officer, and the defendant himself. Macias would have been sentenced to 3 months in prison for the firearm offence. However, having served 14 months on remand, he was sentenced to time served. You're watching GBC News. Still to come. The Health Authority needs more blood donors, and it's Bloomsday, time to celebrate James Joyce's Ulysses. We'll be back in a few minutes. Welcome back. The Spanish environmental group Verdemar has urged Spanish MEPs to seek amendments to the Gibraltar Treaty, arguing that environmental safeguards are insufficient. In a statement, the group raises concerns over wastewater treatment, bunkering and land reclamation. In several of its claims, Verdemar also raised disputes over jurisdiction in British Gibraltar territorial waters rather than environmental concerns alone. In April, the government rejected a video produced by Verdemar using AI-generated imagery, which it said misrepresented Gibraltar and damaged the image of the rock. In other news, the Health Authority is appealing for more people to donate blood as it marks World Blood Donor Day and launches a new initiative to recognise the contribution of voluntary donors.
An appreciation wall will be installed at St. Bernard's Hospital, giving patients, staff and members of the public the opportunity to leave anonymous messages of thanks for those who donate blood. It will later be moved to the blood department, allowing donors to see how their contributions have impacted others. The GHA says it currently has around 1,800 active donors on its register, including some who began donating at the age of 18 and continue to do so into their 60s. First-time donors can give blood between the ages of 17 and 66, while returning donors can continue donating until the age of 72. The GHA says community participation remains essential, with blood stocks requiring constant replenishment because blood has a limited shelf life and is used daily across a range of medical procedures and treatments. Anyone interested in becoming a donor or finding out more can contact the Blood Donation Service at blooddonations@gha.gi.
Celebrating James Joyce's novel Ulysses, Bloomsdale was first marked in Gibraltar last year. This year, the day will see a cultural exchange between Gibraltar and La Línea, 2 of the locations mentioned in the book. Rebecca Calderón and Charles Durante told Claire Hernandez about the significance of Bloomsday and what this year's celebration will look like.
Normally it's a good time, just people going out to celebrate, drink, eat, sing, whatever. But it also has a deeper meaning, to celebrate the success and how important the novel has actually become in the whole world, not just in Ireland or England, everywhere. It's just a time to get together, talk about Joyce, recite some of the book itself, sing Irish songs, dance Irish music. It's really a celebration of Joyce's Ulysses, his masterpiece.
And it's significant to Gibraltar because Gibraltar features in the book. We are essentially the home of one of the main characters.
Yes, you're quite right, yes. Yeah. When you get to the last chapter, called Penelope, after Penelope, Ulysses' wife in Homer's Odyssey, we have Molly. Molly's been in bed most of the day. She starts reminiscing, recalling her days, of course, here in Gibraltar. She was born here. It's wonderful reading, and if you read the whole thing, you realise you're back in Gibraltar of the 1890s, 1920s. We have Main Street, we have Bell Lane, we have the Acer Course, we have House Battery, we have the Bruges Castle. All that comes out in that last chapter. Amazing.
And mainly the Alameda Gardens,
yes, of course,
which is where our Bloomsday celebration starts this year. So we start at the statue in the Alameda Gardens, then we go down to Book Gem, and Charlie is going to give us a wonderful lecture about Ulysses and James Joyce, and Book Gem are going to give everyone a free welcome drink, and it's free to everyone. And then we're going down to the Clipper, and we're going to have they're offering a Bloomsday lunch at the Clipper, pie, mash and half a Guinness. Jackie Anderson is going to recite from Ulysses afterwards. And it's very much in keeping because there's a lot of food, as Charlie said, there's a lot of food and drink and merrymaking and socialising. Yeah. We're all going to reconvene over in La Linea at 8 o'clock in the evening in the Museo Cruz Herrera. And I've written a play, and we're going to have it performed. And then after that, it's songs round the piano at Molly Bloom's pub in La Linea. People dress up in sort of Edwardian clothes. It's you don't have to, but if you can, it's easy. Straw hat, wooden cane, long dress, very easy. And you sort of feel part of the crack and you don't have to have read Ulysses to enjoy Bloomsday.
It's been a busy period of sports, including international hockey, the World Cup of Darts, plus more. Robin Shepherd-Caburro has the details.
Well, we'll begin with hockey, and earlier this week, Gibraltar hosted Morocco in back-to-back friendlies in what were our first officially recognised women's international fixtures. The visitors won 1-0 on Wednesday, 2-0 on Thursday, but rather than dwell on the defeats, Captain Natalie Caetano was keen to focus on the bigger picture.
Honestly, it's been one of the best experiences I've had, especially at home. We haven't played a match at home in over 4 years as a senior squad. It's been an experience to remember. Despite the score, we take it, we move on to the next one. It's all practice, but yeah, amazing.
After 2 weeks of intense action in intense heat, the GPA Paddle Open reached its conclusion last night. Stefan Kumbo and Declan Christie beat Dylan Casiero and Jeremy Pohjo in straight sets to win the men's first division.
Scoreline makes it look easy, but every game was quite close. And if you give them, we play all the time because we're all very good friends. So it's like we've been in positions like that before, and all of a sudden they bring it back. So we had to concentrate a lot today.
Like Declan said, we play against them on a weekly basis, and sometimes we have these scorelines, but it doesn't really reflect what the actual gameplay is like today. I was just lucky that, I had a really good game personally. Yesterday I had a terrible game, I'd say. Declan got us into this final because he had a really good game, and today, for whatever reason, they haven't had the best game, but it doesn't mean that that was easy in any way.
And congratulations to Kaisa Lapitz and Rika Leiner, who beat Kathy Vaughan and Ariane Garro in 3 sets in the women's final. A little bit of history now, and a first official Rugby Europe Sevens tournament for the Gibraltar national team. They're in Kosovo to take on San Marino, Bosnia and Herzegovina and Montenegro. Yesterday saw the start of the 2026 World Cup. No, not that one. The PDC World Cup of Darts. Gibraltar, having originally not made the cut, have replaced Uganda, whose pair were forced to withdraw from the competition due to visa issues. Justin Hewitt and Craig Galliano are in Frankfurt, Germany. Earlier today, they lost 4-2 to Singapore and are currently in action against 2019 runners-up, the Republic of Ireland.
Well, that's all from the GBC News team for now. Don't forget, you can always catch up on our website and social media pages. Enjoy your long weekend. Good night.